Hello and welcome to the TMZ podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton, and today on the podcast, I'm joined by our courtroom Casanova, Derek Kaufman. How are you, Derek?
Must be something legal going down today, and I have a hunch that it might have to do with our old guy, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, could be that.
It's sort of dominating headlines.
Well, I mean, there's been all this speculation.
I was going to say our old friend, but I did not want to label him as a friend.
I saw you tinkering with how you're going to phrase that, and I'm glad you didn't say friend. There's been a lot of celebrities leaking out in these. I shouldn't say that either. Yeah. Being leaked in these files, and so we thought we'd go through some of the major developments this morning and in recent days of big names who have been mentioned in these files and what it says.
Yeah, look, it's a massive data dump that many news outlets are pouring through to try to pull out, well, what more do we have to learn about Jeffrey Epstein? Obviously, people are very interested in his black book and celebrities and former presidents and so forth, current presidents. So what do we have on tap? We should just sort of dedicate the entire episode to what has come out to this point.
Right. So if you're listening with us on Spotify, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Please like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube and you think of any questions or something you want to say, we can get to that at the end of the show.
Yeah.
So let us know. Let's begin with the big bombshell this morning, which was a letter allegedly written from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar,
the convicted child sex abuse molester of gymnasts of the U.S. gymnast team who is serving a sentence. This is a letter that Jeffrey Epstein purportedly wrote to Larry Nassar at prison pen pals.
So the two maybe most prominent pedophiles in America, have a correspondence. They're pen pals, and then they talk about Donald Trump in this letter, and it's very relevant that this letter was written maybe the day or two before Epstein, committed suicide or whatever happened?
That's what it sounds like, because Epstein wrote the letter sometime in August 2019 when he was then found in the same month dead in his cell. They determined that he had died by suicide. In the letter, he says, by now you've heard, something to the effect of, by now you've probably heard that I took the short route out, which is a reference to dying by your own hand, saying, I'm not going to go forward. And then he quickly gets into what he has to say to Larry Nassar. And he says, we shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies and the hope they'd reach their full potential. Our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. Nubile is a sexualization of young women. And he says this in 2019. And who is the president? Donald Trump at the time. And Donald Trump has not been able to shake the association with Jeffrey Epstein. He said they did have a friendship for a period of time, but he broke it off, maybe due to him being creepy, maybe due to some sort of business transaction problem at his club, something to that effect. But now it looks like, at least according to Jeffrey Epstein, he was embittered about being in a cell, because at the end of the letter, he says, the president is known for grabbing snatch, which is a reference to him on the bus saying, I just grab them by their parts. And we're here, Larry Nassar and I, grabbing grub at the mess hall, right?
Not very great wordplay.
He's trying for wordplay. And then the last line of the letter is, life is unfair. So it does seem like he wanted to have the discovery of this letter, maybe take down Donald Trump with him in this ignominious kind of way.
So it's pretty...
It's mind blowing. If this weren't a letter that was handwritten, analyzed by the DOJ, and released as part of these files, it would look like a fake. The notion that these two men corresponded in any way.
But so obviously Trump is going to say this isn't true. Jeffrey was just out to try to get me in his final days because he was bitter. But
as an evidentiary matter, it is just a letter from a guy who did know him. No one disputes that he knew him, but it's not evidence of Donald Trump doing anything. It's evidence of Jeffrey Epstein saying something about Donald Trump in a letter to Larry Nassar.
In a court of law, yes.
Yes. But in the court of public opinion, very different.
And this could be very bad, potentially?
It could be. What I see is Donald Trump's coalition is fractured now. There have been people who have run for the hills with him. He's, Marjorie Taylor Greene, once a stalwart, is gone. And his coalition was always precarious. It's about half the country, even in his most popular days. And so his approval rating goes down. He can't shake this. He's trying to turn the page as much as he can. There are other things going on with Venezuela. He tried to get a Nobel Prize in the Middle East. He's hosting the Trump Kennedy Awards. He's still doing provocative things. But he can't outrun this news cycle because they're releasing dribs and drabs of this, and it's implicating him in some way. The association is there. There's photographs. Other people are involved as well, and we'll talk about all the other celebrities that have percolated into Epstein's world through this release. But the most important one is Donald Trump.
Yeah. And Jeffrey, whether or not it's true or not, and obviously Trump's going to say it's not, the fact that the guy at the center of this is saying, oh yeah, Trump loved it too. That is just... It's horrible for him. And also...
It's a bad look. And of course, he's trying to get out ahead of it and say, this is nonsense. This was an embittered guy who was going after me because we had a failed friendship and a falling out. But it's just it's upsetting for people to read this about their sitting president. I mean, it's one thing. Bill Clinton has obviously been severely tarnished by his association even before this dump. But now there's visuals that people hadn't seen of him sitting on the airplane with a woman who's a young person, presumably whose face is blacked out. His response has been, release everything and I'll be exonerated. And that this is just cherry picking. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry to move off, sort of Larry Nassar, but that's where my mind was going.
No, totally. It is interesting to me, though, that the DOJ released this file because we've long worried that everything's going to be redacted, especially if it pertains to Trump. Well, here we see a pretty bad little thing for Trump, and they released it. I know they also said, at the same time as releasing this, they also said, some of these file materials are sensationalized and false, especially the claims against Donald Trump.
Well, Donald Trump's point, and it's not a bad one, is that this was 2019. This letter existed because that's when Jeffrey Epstein was found in his cell. So if this letter existed in 2019, why on earth was it not weaponized to defeat Donald Trump during the 2024 election, right? Like this now could sink Donald Trump, and instead it was not heard of until 2025.
I guess, but
it wasn't heard of in 2020 when he lost to Biden. It wasn't heard of in the 2024 cycle.
Democrats were clearly trying to protect their own as well. I feel like both parties are protecting because it's so widespread how much this abuse, happened, and it was powerful men, regardless of how they feel politically. So I feel like I don't understand that point totally, but the
DOJ said the claims were submitted to the FBI before the 2020 election, but this is the first time we're hearing of this letter, this inflammatory letter.
The fact that it's coming out, it does make me think that maybe the DOJ...
Now, what is considerably more troubling is that there was a DOJ email that also surfaced, which said that Donald Trump took at least 8 flights on the so-called Lolita Express, Epstein's private jet. This is where you've seen Bill Clinton on the jet. I think we've seen pictures of Michael Jackson, maybe Diana Ross, and all these kind of figureheads who might have flown on this jet and done nefarious acts at an island. Donald Trump has always said, he had been on the jet before, but 8 flights is a lot.
I think he said once, or he inferred that it was only maybe a single, or.
But there's flight logs of these things.
So there are way more times than he had admitted to. I mean, some of these times were with his wife and kids, though.
Sure, and that's very helpful to him.
That's very helpful
the flights,
to him saying
that's not a boys' weekend.
That's not a lads' weekend, but it is like wow, your families are tight now. You're having your kids. It means that they were closer friends than I thought. If
That's fair.
Kids are involved now, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is like a family vacation, joint family. That's Uncle Jeff is taking us on the jet.
Oh God!
So it is horrific. And this was between 93 and 96. Apparently, he's listed as a passenger, and this is before the fallout of Jeffrey Epstein's life. So I think that's helpful to Donald Trump that this guy was likely a creep his entire life doing terrible things, but his reputation in the 2000s when he was tried in Florida and cuts that deal, that's when things really fall apart publicly for Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
And these seem to predate that. So how does that land with you? And how does Trump use that? Yeah, I mean, this was a financier who ran in rich circles.
It's going to be, I don't know how to defend all of this, or even if
He also has the weird birthday notes that other news outlets have broke about him writing birthday letters to Epstein. This is a very tangled web for him, and it's hard for him to extricate himself cleanly.
Well, I mean, yeah. Also, I think photos, a picture says 1,000 words. When all those photos came out of Bill Clinton,
yeah,
in the
hot tub,
yeah, with girls.
Yes.
Well, actually, they're black. Not blackface.
They're redacted. Yeah.
So we don't know if they're girls or women, but one can only assume.
We assume they might be victims or witnesses of some sort.
So it's hard to unsee that. Is there many of those with Trump?
I haven't seen many of those with Trump. I mean, I've seen the same things you have seen, where he is dancing at the famous video of where he's leaning in and saying something at a wedding to Jeffrey Epstein. But in these files, the big ones that trickled out for me were the presence of Bill Clinton.
But Bill Clinton is now saying release all the files. Like he thinks that Trump or whoever, DOJ, is
cherry picking. Yeah.
And ones that make him look bad. And now he's saying release everything. He thinks that'll exonerate him.
He's completely, his back is against the wall. His reputation is completely trashed. This is a guy who survived Monica Lewinsky, all of these scandals, all these things we thought about Bill Clinton now coming to fruition. Monica Lewinsky, remember, was a young intern. That's not pedophilia, but it's in the arena of enjoying people, younger than you.
Yeah.
In some sort of sexualized way. He has a wife who is his age, roughly. They went to law school together, and then he had a dalliance with someone who was considerably younger. So they start to develop a picture. Now he says, release them all, and the association will not look like I was participating in the things that Jeffrey Epstein was participating in. But the pictures are hard. The pictures are, unless they're doctored in some way, the pictures are hard for him to shake. His reputation is gone.
Is his association with Jeffrey Epstein and like the girls in the photos, are these photos taken post-presidency or pre-presidency?
I believe these are post-presidency.
Wow.
I believe. And obviously for Trump, any images are going to be pre-presidency.
Wow. It's just crazy that like President Clinton is over there with, potentially with young.
He liked to surround himself with very, very powerful people. Some say as a way of blackmailing them and keeping them in his pocket. Because what did Jeffrey Epstein offer? I guess he cut some checks to certain institutions and he had some money. But what did he offer to a person like Bill Clinton, who has access to tons of wealthy people who can cut enormous checks? Bill Gates, he's a former president. So why the Jeffrey Epstein Association? That's what people are trying to piece together through these images.
And Jeffrey Epstein had referred to Trump, I believe, as the dog that hadn't barked yet.
Yes.
Like how he has...
That's another email dropped from a
while ago. Like that he's basically got dirt on us. We've got dirt on him.
Yes.
And
that's why a lot of people believe that maybe he was too dangerous to stay alive. There's a lot of people who question whether he died by his own hand in suicide or whether this was all concocted and he was offed by people. This is a very complicated story. And Ghislaine Maxwell obviously had a meeting with Trump's DOJ and was transferred to a lower security facility, sort of a nicer stay for her in prison after her conviction. All of these things are coming together, and his party is running from him. A lot of big, prominent members, loud members. You can say what you want about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She commands a certain type of audience, and she speaks for a certain segment of that party, and they've run from him. And that's a fragile coalition. What is he going to do? He's only in the first year of his presidency. He's going to be a lame duck for 3 years, where he's doesn't have the support he needs to sort of tackle his agenda. I don't know.
It's going to be a big year next year, like politically, obviously, but like if the midterms don't go like his way, if they go really badly for the Republicans, they all might just jump ship from Trump. You could see. Yeah,
I think things are in a very, very fragile state. He's on the Trump Kennedy Awards. He's still sort of barreling ahead in whatever ways he can, trying to get ratings, talking about that. He's trying desperately during a slow news cycle to have something other than Epstein. But to your point, we did this episode today because this is all that's out there. Right?
Yeah.
There's a things slow down around the holidays. You get dribs and drabs. Obviously, Rob Reiner's death was a very big deal, but that's been kicked down the road a little bit with his son's arraignment being postponed, and now it's just this. This is all people are feeding on, and he hopes that they're going to want to watch Sylvester Stallone and Gloria Gaynor get an award tonight. I don't know.
I don't think so. Other celebrities that have been involved in some way with these files are, of course, Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
And
who we knew about for a long time. He's been kicked out of the royal family over it.
Right. But then apparently there's some the email correspondence between him and Ghislaine where he asks if she had found him any new inappropriate friends.
I mean, just the language there. It's the economy of words to say, have you found any new inappropriate? It's the mindfulness that what they're doing is wrong.
Right.
And that you're just sort of casual in an email to Ghislaine, who has been, sort of held up as the madam, essentially rounding up young women for Jeffrey Epstein and his pals. It's pretty gross. I don't think you can get much lower. What does it do for his standing in the royal family? I think basically nothing. He's ostracized. His brother has kicked him out.
It's Charles's brother, right?
Yes, it is Charles's brother.
Crazy, the king's brother.
And a lot of people think it was Queen Elizabeth II's favorite child. She always loved Andrew. If you go into royal family sort of intrigue,
like maybe I haven't thought about it closely enough, but it's crazy that like the heads basically of both England and America, or the most important men in both countries,
had associations with this monster.
Crazy. Yeah. Other ones just quickly were Mick Jagger, Chris Tucker, David Copperfield, Richard Branson. All of them, like, you know, appear somewhere in the files. Not saying they did anything, but they're in there.
I do think he just liked photo ops. And so I don't paint everyone with this brush. Mick Jagger shows up in the photos. Diana Ross shows up. Michael Jackson. I mean, it is literally a who's who. Obviously, people think a lot of things about Michael Jackson in this arena as well. But I don't want to paint everyone. I think you're going to see a lot of famous people and rich people around each other, and not everyone gets painted with the same brush.
It's important not to be too judgmental. You know what I mean?
But I bet they sure wish they didn't take a photo with
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't have time to get the comments because Harvey's about to dominate the live stream. If you're on YouTube, go to Harvey's live stream right now.
Let's do it.
We appreciate you guys watching. Have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year.
Same to you, man.
We'll see you
Lots
next
of presents for Peach.
Yep. All right, bye.